Hmm? Ah!
You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode, we are talking about the supernatural horror comedy Little Evil, written and directed by Eli Craig and released on Netflix September 1st, 2017. Which, I didn't realize that it had already been that long since it came out. I don't think I have seen this since 2017 when it first was released, but...
Well,
yeah,
I hadn't seen it at all.
Nice. Yeah, I really need to indoctrinate you into the very small world of Eli Craig, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I thought we had a lot of fun with another movie we covered last season called Eli, and I was like, we need more similarity, you know, a devil child, and even Eli Craig. We'll even get the name in there in one way or another.
That's what I thought of when I saw the name of the director. I'm like, oh, it takes me back to Eli, which was a good movie, and we had a good discussion about it.
Yeah, this one's similar as far as a Son of Satan plot, but done a little bit differently, and also, as mentioned, with the style of very much a comedy with a lot of, I don't even want to say parody or satire. It was very much homage to a lot of horror movies and things within that realm. We'll talk about those things, but I'll go ahead, especially The Shining. That's definitely the winner of most references.
Yeah, I think we were due for a movie like this. Every once in a while, on this podcast, we need to cover something that's got a bit of a comedy feel to it. I think it breaks up some of the serious discussions that we have, and we've had some really deep discussions. Maybe not last week on the Meg, but before that with some of the movies that we were covering. So I think we were due to cover a movie like this.
Yeah, just one. I love this movie so much. There's so many points that just I laugh out loud, just like watching. So many great lines. Well, I have quotes in here and just little things that are throwaway things that just crack me up. I love the humor of Eli Craig so much. Which
I feel like we need more from him.
Yeah, I've got some notes on him because he's only directed 2 movies and. Both I really like. This was the last one he did. He has not directed a feature film since 2017. I don't know what he's doing, but he needs to be working on this because his first movie, his full-length directorial debut, was the movie Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which we will cover. I'm just going to go ahead and make that promise whether Daphne likes it or knows it or not, because it's one of my all-time favorite movies, and I don't know why we haven't already. And it also is very similar in the vein of it's very referential, but hilarious. He needs to do more things.
I haven't seen that one either.
We're going to get on that. Yeah, he needs to do more stuff. Eli Craig, you're totally listening, so what are you doing? He also did direct the pilot and only episode for the Zombieland TV series that did not get picked up. I thought that was a really fun pilot. I thought I enjoyed that, but it just didn't go anywhere. But he was also the director of that.
Yeah. So quickly, I'm looking at Wikipedia to see who's in Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And I'm already sold on Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk. That's all I need to see.
They're
right
incredible together, which I had this. I'm jumping ahead, but you know, I had this note. But since you mentioned Tyler Labine, yeah, he's the through line between these 2 movies. He's in both. He plays Carl, the wedding videographer, in this one. Which of course he's not going to use a tripod. His door says auteur, but he is one of my favorite human beings that I ever see on a screen. And similar to Eli Craig, in a way, he's done a lot more, but he's somebody that not many people know about. I wish...
Did you ever see Tyler Labine in Reaper?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I own all of Reaper.
That's one of Chris's favorites. He loved that show so much. I
just wish Tyler Labine could really hit more mainstream and like people could really see his talent in comedy. Because between Tucker and Dale, he did a movie called Someone Marry Barry that I thought was really funny, but nobody saw. He did a Hulu series called Deadbeat that got canceled after 3 seasons. He was in a show called Sons of Tucson that only did 1 season that I thought was really good. Reaper, of course, is an incredible show. I know, and he was also on the medical drama New Amsterdam, which I didn't watch, but I heard was really good. That had a little bit more acclaim, but I think he was playing a much more serious role than he usually does in that show. But yeah, so that's what I want for Christmas this year is more Eli Craig and Tyler Labine in things that I watch. Directing them, acting in them. Just give me those two. They're a duo that is wonderful.
Well, hopefully he's listening.
Right. With more Eli Craig, you have some of the stuff in your production notes, so I don't know if I'm going to step on those too much. But, because I have like literally a note section on him. He's great.
I'll try not to steal too much of your thunder.
All right. Maybe I'll go over these. I know I'm stealing, unless you want to.
We can include them in the production notes if you want. Would that make you happy?
Maybe. I don't know. They're not really they're kind of production notes. It's really about casting stuff, but...
Okay. Well, it was filmed in Cleveland, Ohio. No other locations were listed. Mm-hmm. Eli Craig is the writer and director of this film, plus, as we've talked about, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. He has only 3 directing credits, and one of them is a short film called The Tao of Pong. And Eli Craig has a famous mom.
Mm-hmm.
His mom is Sally Field.
Yes. Yeah, Eli Craig has quite an interesting, like, family story. Maybe not, stepfather to the son of Satan, but, yes, his mother, Sally Field, who is in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
She plays the, as we learn, fake CPS worker, Miss Shaylock. Also, he is married to a Power Ranger, Sasha Williams, now Sasha Craig, who plays the mom at the water park who takes their picture. She's also in the movie. And his son, Noah, is also in this film. He plays Jeremy, who is Al's stepson, who loves Pitch Perfect and not Rush. He's a terrible kid. Yeah. Who we see him playing baseball for a little bit, and he answers the door later when Gary goes over there. But yeah, so that's actually Eli Craig's son, Noah, there.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well,
and Eli Craig himself also appears in the movie at the end. He is the soapbox derby official with the clipboard that tells Gary and Lucas that it's their turn. So yeah, the whole Craig family was in the movie at the time.
Well, I noticed Eli Craig comes out with a movie every 7 years. So probably next year.
I mean, I will be honest, on his IMDb, there is something in production right now. So you might be right.
Okay. See, every 7
it is
years.
called Clown in a Cornfield is in production right now. So
Pake.
I don't know.
It sounds, the title sounds like a Run for Your Lives movie.
I'll hold on to hope a little bit.
Fingers crossed. Once in a while, a director comes along that we can do all of their movies.
Mm-hmm.
This may be one of those opportunities.
I'll keep an eye on it, because, like I said, more Eli Craig movies in my life is exactly what I want.
Okay, so the budget for this one was $7.5 million. It's 95 minutes long. Pake, give us a synopsis.
All right. Gary, who has just married Samantha, the woman of his dreams, discovers that her young son may just be the Antichrist.
He may just be.
May just be.
Yeah, like I said, I had never seen this one. However, I have been watching Parks and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
And so Adam Scott is Ben on Parks and Rec. So I've seen him in that. I've also watched Severance.
He's so good in Severance. That show is so good.
I think he's very underrated as an actor. He should probably get more accolades than he's had. So I was excited when I saw that he was in this movie. But I really didn't know anything about it going in. For some reason, the only thing I could get in my head when you said, oh, we should cover Little Evil was I went back to this ridiculous John Ritter movie called Problem Child. They're not the same movies.
No.
Thankfully. Because I really didn't like that. I really didn't like Problem Child. I know there are people listening that are like, how could you not like it? I just didn't. I'm very particular when it comes to comedies.
Mm-hmm.
So I had never really seen, or heard. I knew of this movie, but I never seen it. But I never turned down an opportunity to broaden my horizons when it comes to film. And this podcast, as we've talked about before, has given both Pake and I an opportunity to be able to watch movies we may not have ever even turned on.
Absolutely.
And I'm grateful for that, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, buckle up, because Tucker and Dale is coming next season. Some point, I think it has to.
I look forward to it. That list
have already, officially, marked down, 2 movies for next season at this point. Because I think last week or the week before, I was like, we're going to do this one next season, too. I don't remember what it was already, but
I've written some down. Notes. We're probably gonna have to be into season 8 with the movies we keep coming up with. Because we are getting closer to the end of season 7.
Wandering Earth 2 is what I did last week. I said we need to do that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's on Peacock right now. I'll try not to watch it, but I really want to watch it. I usually, if it's one that neither of us have seen, I usually try not to watch it until we cover it.
Yeah.
So, we need that to be sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
But we're getting close to the end of this season, so we'll be coming up on Tremors.
Yes.
And we'll be coming up on our Look Back special, which I know is very popular with our listeners.
Yeah. And then, I can't tell you when they'll be released, but I'm going to go ahead and mark the claim that next season we'll have Wandering Earth 2 and Tucker and Dale vs. Evil somewhere in the lineup.
Are they bad and clean up?
They could. They are definitely... Well, I don't know about Wandering Earth, I've seen it, but Tucker and Dale is quite a grand slam, so hey, maybe we'll do it 4th. Who knows?
Well, I've made a note of it, so we don't forget it. Want to make sure that we cover both of those. But I know we've also talked about other movies that we want to cover next season, so I know that those aren't the only 2. I feel like the schedule is... It's definitely filling up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we still need to do more Insidious. We still need to do more Purge. We still only touched the 1, so plenty of stuff to do.
Yeah. I think The Red Door is out streaming now.
Yes, it is.
So I feel like we're going to have to get through those
so Insidious we've got 3 movies to get through on that one.
Yeah. And we're not following a 1 movie a season rule when it comes to those.
No, it would take forever to get to it. We're not doing that.
Yeah, can't do that. So I feel like we should get started like we always do. And who do you think is the main character in this one?
I mean, honestly, even in my notes, it kind of is shared between Gary and Lucas. Because, Gary's kind of the main focal point as far as who we're riding along with on the story.
Mm-hmm.
But titularly, is that a word? The little evil in this movie is Lucas. And he also has quite an arc through this thing. So.
He has a big arc, probably the biggest, I think.
For sure.
From where he starts.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, does he really know who he is? I don't know that he really knows. 100%.
Good enough, yeah. But I think Gary's probably the best place to start, if you agree.
Yeah.
So Ben Wyatt, Gary, Gets married to Kate Austen. I mean Hope Van Dyne. I mean Samantha.
This is going down a confusion rabbit hole right now.
Right.
Ben just wrapped up talking about Kate Austen over on, the podcast
Revisited.
Rewind, Revisited.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, but so Ben White, no, Kate, yeah, Gary Bloom and Samantha have just recently gotten married, and Gary's wanting to have a good relationship with her son, Lucas. I didn't have any other, like, alternate names. He's been in other things, but nothing I've seen. It's a lot of kid stuff, obviously. As a kid, he's a little older now. I don't know if he's really stuck around. There's a lot of kid actors that don't continue for one reason or another, and good for them, whatever. If that's not what they want to do, that's not what they want to do.
Sometimes it just takes one movie, and then you realize, I really don't want to do this. This is a crazy career, and it's out of control. He actually, though, the actor who played Lucas, Owen Atlas, has done some other roles, but not really anything that we talk about.
Yeah. But, it's, at first, I mean, it's clear. It's not like it's not like a typical horror movie where, like, weird stuff starts to happen a little bit, and you're like, oh, something's off. No, from the get-go, Lucas is very much a, like, full-on living, breathing trope of Damien from The Omen and a bunch of other, like, creepy movie kids all bunched into one. Like,
I love those.
It's a comedy. That's what they're doing. Is they want you immediately to go, oh, that's what that is. That's what's happening.
I loved the callbacks. I loved the connections to the various movies. That was awesome. It was cool to get to see all of that. Because as I was watching, I was thinking, oh, Poltergeist, or, oh, that's from The Omen also, or, oh, what was that from? Because there were just these connections, and it was fun.
I mean, like, some of the first times you see him, it's like with the school uniform and everything, and it's the swing set, and it's like, it's Damien, like...
It's all for you, Damien! It's all for you!
But within the movie, Gary isn't really aware of all those things. Like, he notices little things, but, at first he's just like, oh, he's a quiet, peculiar kid, but, like, we're gonna be best of buds. I'm gonna be Father of the Year, and he'll love me. And he's trying. We kind of it gets thrown back at him, like, oh, you took him to school and you tried to talk to him and didn't 3 times. Are you really trying? But, like, no, I think Gary is legitimately a great person, and he really wants to make an effort to be there for Lucas as much as his wife. Maybe the mulching accident was news to him, but
I don't understand how she could have thought that multiple husbands having fatal accidents was a coincidence.
Yeah, but he really is trying. I almost called him Damien now that I've said this so many times, but yeah, Lucas is just he's very off and very closed down. And it's not just because he is the son of Satan born through some kind of, dark ritual.
That story in itself was crazy.
Right. But then if we want to go a little deeper on it, there is a heartwarming element of this story where, yes, he is a satanic blood ritual born child. But also... yeah, and then it's like also because of the influence of the Dark Lord's Underlords Lucifer, all of his like other stepdads have died. Mm-hmm. But him, as a 5-year-old boy, is still a human child, and all of this is coming to him as rejection. Mm-hmm. Anytime somebody steps into my life, they get scared, they don't understand me, and they leave or die. But to him, it's this rejection. So there is this part of it that, like, he's also very, like, quiet and closed off and creepy seeming to Gary because he's afraid to get attached to him because he's just going to lose him too, right?
Because they keep leaving. Because all of his dads keep leaving. So why would he... I mean, really, why would he want to invest himself in getting to know anyone? And why would he open himself up to that?
Right.
He definitely wouldn't.
And so, yeah, Gary taking him to school, and Gary, we get a little bit into Gary's life, which I don't have a whole lot about. I do love Al, but I'll talk about Al separately.
Oh my god, Al was one of the best things about this movie.
Yes. But yeah, he gets a call. He's a realtor. He sells this nunnery to Reverend J.D. Gospel. That's a bit on the nose. And
okay, Clancy Brown plays he plays a creepy preacher so well.
He does. He really does.
He was in this show called Carnival. It's on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
Another show to add to your list, Pake, but it's only like 2 seasons. And he was a preacher that had some connections to underworldly things, and that's where I'm going to leave it. He just does creepy so well. He was the Kurgan
really
in Highlander. Like, he just plays these parts so well. He really does.
Really does. The most recent, or not, maybe not most recent, but could be. I don't know. Strange Indeed, me and Rima covering Dexter New Blood.
Yeah.
And he had quite a unsettling role in that show as well. So yeah, he's
he
good with
does that so well. Like, you need a creepy man hanging around. Get him.
Clancy Brown's your guy.
Clancy Brown's your guy. I mean, Reverend J.D. Gospel. Yeah, no. I don't think so. Yeah.
But Lucas, he gets called while on this, job selling this nunnery to Reverend Gospel, where Lucas has gotten into a little trouble at school. So he's like, oh, I'll go check it out. He's not expecting a full police presence, or expecting to be and picked apart by a school psychologist. It's kind of strange. Again, just played for comedy, but it was a little, it's like, can an elementary school psychologist make a parent to go to group therapy? I don't think I've heard of that.
I don't think so either. Honestly, I do question him being suspended because he didn't do anything. Like, he told her to go to hell, but he didn't kill her. I mean, he didn't physically touch her.
Yeah.
And
Which I like that, again, the dark humor of that exchange, where it's like, well, what did he do? It's like, oh, he spoke out of turn in class. It's like, what kid doesn't do that?
Yeah, all kids do.
Right. And then he's like, well, he told the teacher to go to hell. And he's like, well, that's worse, but also it's probably way more common than you think. I've been around elementary kids. They're emotional beings with not a lot of impulse control.
They're hell on Uno cards, aren't they?
Oh my god, yes. I just got my new pack of Uno cards in today, and I got the Ninja Turtles ones, the new Mutant Mayhem.
Oh, maybe they will be nicer to those.
Maybe. We'll see. But then the kicker on this was then she did as she was told. And that's the disturbing part. So yeah, that's the kind of the first big step in going like, something's different.
Yeah. That's just the beginning of it though, really. Truly. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad, honestly, that Gary got sent to group therapy because Al had been talking to him about it anyway.
Yeah.
And he needed to be around other men who have similar issues, although they don't realize while they're kidding about their children. Although there was one father that had 2 girls that I would question whether or not they were.
Yeah, I love that. Just the stepdad's therapy. Chris Turk is there. Scrubs. Donald Faison. Donald Faison a part of it. Also, I don't have the actor's name, but played Victor with the twin girls. He was also Teddy in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
That is Kyle Baumheimer.
Yeah. And then also another comedian that was in that group that we won't talk about due to him recently being known to be a terrible person. Yes. But we're going to move on from that.
Yeah. Didn't have a big role. Not really. He was there, but yeah, we're not going to talk about him.
But yeah, in this group, that's like, I have a feeling he's evil incarnate. Yeah. But like you said, they don't mean literally. But then we get that little scene of all the stepdads sharing their horror stories all about poop and pee and Vagisil. So,
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't... Ew, okay. This is a lot to digest.
Yeah. Especially that Vagisil on your toothpaste. It's too much to digest.
Can you... I mean, really, think about it. I mean, it's gross.
Right.
Ew.
Then, yeah, just weird things. Which is funny, because I'm trying to, like, talk about them, but a lot of them are more in Lucas notes or other notes. But they are important to what Gary sees, so you at least loosely touch on them as far as after this situation at school. But then he meets the other stepdads from group therapy. So now we actually have kids. You know, they're a bunch of stepchildren that we can invite to the birthday party. Where they're having a great time in the bouncy house and in the pool and playing with water guns and watching a clown go up in flames. You know, the things that you do. Lucas said that this clown is boring and I'm going to need to fire him up a little bit.
I'm not sure if this is what he intended. At least they got a clown because Samantha was trying to get a clown and she couldn't get one. Then she was worrying about kids coming. This dad support group, really, they came through.
They did. They're great.
Know?
They're really great. I do love the stepdads. You know, here's to getting hammered and staying sharp. Right?
They're so great.
Yeah. So the weird stuff at the birthday party and other little things leads Gary to going and talking to Carl, the videographer, which I talked about, Tyler Labine. A little bit there. Which, yeah, then learning things are a little off, right?
Well, he tried to talk to Gary, but Gary was like, we don't want it. We're not doing it. And we're just like, okay, so we know something happened at the wedding. We just don't quite know what it was. I mean, I feel like, honestly, Samantha was just kind of... I don't know... When we get to her character, maybe I'll be able to put it into words.
Yeah, just like we get the little note, like hints very early on. It's like, oh, the disaster that was the wedding, and you're like, what could have been so bad?
Yeah.
And then when we watch the footage, and it's like, oh, that's the wedding fiasco. The priest is speaking backwards about protecting the child through brimstone and fire, and there's a tornado. R.I.P. Uncle Scott, I guess, but he doesn't matter. He's not important. Look at Lucas's hair.
It's not moving. It had to be Aquanet. Mm-hmm. Aquanet is incredibly strong, as proven by any girl who grew up in the 80s. Or guy, because guys used it too. Mm-hmm. Anyone who grew up in the 80s, Aquanet was your friend.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely leads Gary into looking a little bit more. Of course, Carl's done all the research. He's on that's his thing. He is super into it, which leads him to go, you know, he's like, I even looked into your wife's ex-husband. It's like, that is not your job. But yeah, we get the one survivor in a line of victims trope that we've seen a lot of times as well with her ex, Gabriel Winthorpe. And we pick up on him a little later as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that he's talking to Samantha about the situation, you know, it's like, the priest is speaking backwards, and who does that? And I like that, you know, I'm sure people make points in reverse all the time.
Sure they do, Pake. Sure they do. See, Samantha was just so accepting of whatever. He's a good little boy.
Mm-hmm.
They said that about one of my cousins. Oh, he's such a good boy. He locked the bathroom door and peed in the plants. What about that is good behavior? I don't know.
He's watering them. What a great kid. He could tell they were underwatered, and he had to do what he could with the tools he had.
Sure. Yeah. And if my brother or sister are listening, yes, that's who I'm talking about. You know who it is.
So yeah, following up on this, Gary, with Al in tow, they go visit Gabriel. Let's just say he's dealing with some stuff.
Yeah. They didn't want to let him in to see Gabriel, but they finally relent and they go.
Yeah, where he tells them that they need to go to Bethlehem and seek out the demon hunter, Gozamel. Luckily, it's Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, so not so bad.
Yeah. But this also leads Sam to sharing the story. Because Gary decides he wants to know more about Lucas's father. He wants to know more about Lucas's father. And she basically is talking about it like it's no big deal. Oh, I was a virgin. They covered me with what was it? Red.
She said warm red body paint.
Yeah.
Also known as blood.
Blood. So he was conceived out of
a
night.
Strapped down into a star. That's what that was.
Yeah. And then she went away after that, never to return.
Whereas basically she's just nonchalantly being like, without realizing it, she's so oblivious. Or is she? That's because when she gets kind of kidnapped by Reverend Gospel later, and we realize he is the cult leader that started this whole thing with her like 6 years ago. It seems like once they're in the nunnery and Lucas is about to be sacrificed, that she really does know what's going on. So I do wonder if she really was that oblivious, or if it was more of just like, if I pretend none of this is real, then it's not,
I would totally get that about her character, because that's what I've been trying to like put my finger on. It really was like, I can pretend it away.
Right.
If I don't think about it, it didn't really happen. If I don't talk about it, it didn't really happen. He's such a good boy. You know? Have you tried talking to him? Like all of those things.
If I live in denial long enough, it becomes reality.
Yeah. No, not really, but...
Yeah. Once she's nonchalantly like, oh yeah, he was conceived through a dark satanic ritual and he's the spawn of Lucifer himself. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no big deal.
He's a good kid. Yeah, and that's then Gary going, okay, we've got to go to Bethlehem, PA, and find this Gozamel guy.
Oh my God. Gozamel.
I love Gozamel. Brad Williams, which, Daphne, do you remember or realize me and you have been in the same room with Brad Williams before?
What?
Last year, we were. But he's also a very hilarious stand-up comedian.
We were in the same room with him.
We were in the same room. Same stadium. It's a big room, but I saw him.
Was he in Vegas?
He was in Vegas. He was.
Yes, because you know what? He's a wrestling fan, correct?
He was, and he was sitting front row at Double or Nothing last year. Because I remember looking down and going, oh, look, there's Brad Williams.
Pake sees all the famous people when we're
sitting over by the Impractical Jokers. They were there, too. That was fun.
And you run into Ruby Rose right outside of our car when we were going to a show.
Yeah.
Just never know who you're going to run into.
Vegas was cool. So yeah, no, we didn't ever talk to Brad Williams. We were not anywhere near close to him.
No.
But I remember looking down in the crowd and going, oh, look who's here.
We had good seats, though, right?
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have been in the same giant room with him.
Okay.
At one point.
Because I was going to it, I was thinking about Atlanta, and it's like, he wasn't in Atlanta.
No.
Oh, no. He was a couple months later when we were in Vegas.
He was in Vegas because he lives in Vegas, or did at that time. Is he still doing, because he's actually part of the cast of a Cirque show. I don't know if he's still doing it, but yes.
Huh. No, I don't know.
But yeah, because it's the, was it like Big Apple or something? It's like the New York styled Cirque show that's in Vegas. He is a stand-up comedian on that show, so yeah. Which he's hilarious. I've seen his stuff online and watched some specials of his. He's great. Almost had a chance to go see him in person. Didn't do it. Should have. Maybe sometime.
Yeah. I was just reading up on him, and he got into a bit of trouble.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. He was on a podcast called Getting Dug with High.
Oh, yeah.
Where he admitted to...
Doug Benson.
Yeah. He admitted to and described committing rape by deception. They took the episode down, but then it appeared like in 2019. He did tweet an apology and said that the story was fabricated and intended as a joke.
This exact same situation as one of the guys from the show Beef on Netflix, like told us like the same story. people doing that.
It's hard as a comedian if you think about it, because anything that you're telling as a story that you mean as a joke, you want it to be taken as a joke. But if you tell people it's a joke ahead of time, they're not going to take it as a joke.
Right.
And then maybe I'm thinking maybe they shouldn't be joking about this at all.
Yeah, I get, comedians are allowed to play with things a little more loosely than most other people, because that is their job, is to make light of things that are certain situations, to make things that we shouldn't talk aboutable in a comedic way and laughable way. But even then, there's still some things. It's like,
yeah,
read the room.
Yeah, I think some things you just kind of have to stop and say, you know what, things have changed. That doesn't fly anymore.
Right. But at least for now. So, yeah, I can't speak about Brad Williams as a person too much. I mean, I know stuff I've seen. He's been funny. Said just a little name drop. Like, we've been in the same giant room. But him as Gozamel in this movie is hilarious. He's so great with that. As they're talking to him, it's funny. He's like delivering like bunker supplies and a like grenade launcher to this old woman's car, helping her back. And as they're talking to him, realizes, oh shit, Lucas is the Antichrist. The mission is on. Let's go. And Al is so down until they realize that Gozamel's plan is killing Lucas on hollow ground. And then, Gary and Al both are a little like, hang on. Do what now? Mm-hmm. Which Gozamel doesn't get to follow through on that plan. No children of the corn, but we get a dead demon hunter in the corn.
Well, I called it, Gozamel went flying to the corn to have a talk with the children. That didn't go well. And he passed the knife of destiny on to Gary. Yeah.
Which leads to one of my favorite lines in this movie that I think is so funny. It cracks me up every time. What good thing has ever happened in a cornfield, Al? Well, I don't know. Field of Dreams is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of cornfields. Not really. I feel like, though, I did just watch the episode of Parks and Rec where they had a festival and there was corn, and that seemed kind of fun.
Yeah. That's a good corn time.
It is, except for Jerry, who was out there eating raw corn. Not tasty.
No.
Right around there, Gary says, he's just a kid. And Al's like, you're a fucking warrior. And that made me laugh too.
Yeah.
But then poor Gary makes it home. He hasn't even been thinking about CPS is supposed to be coming because of the whole incident at the school. Again, CPS is coming. Okay. CPS is coming to his house, and they get there, and it's Sally Field.
Mm-hmm. Which some more just great, humor in that. There's a lot of great lines, but I love that, what an angel. Yeah, fallen asleep angel. Love that one.
Samantha is so, determined for Gary to go upstairs and, tuck him in, and I'm just like...
Man, Al's wife, Wendy, turned on him so hard, so fast.
Yeah.
Just read him a book, you sack of shit.
Oh my God. And you know what? Al's wife was played by Carla Gallo, who was also in Carnival.
Nice.
It's okay, there's a few little connections there.
Yeah.
To that series.
And it's funny, because all the things that go on there with CPS and everybody just being like, why is he struggling so much? And he's going through a full-on horror movie.
Yep.
Upstairs, which talk about more a little bit with Lucas. I feel like that's more Lucas notes than...
It is.
But yeah, ending with what we see at the beginning of the movie of him getting buried in the backyard. To where finally after CPS leaves and Samantha can dig him back out, but then it's still his fault somehow. He's still getting blamed.
I don't understand how he's still getting blamed. With
her obliviousness or denial. And then as they're walking away, I love Lucas's little middle finger behind. It's great. And then another great line. And now it's raining blood. So, yeah, not cool, Lucas. Not cool.
You just never know what you're going to get or what mood Lucas is going to be in.
Right.
You don't.
Mm-hmm. So after that situation, now dad of the game, Al, is starting to think maybe Gary should kill the kid. Take him to King Willie's water park. It's a great Pope-blessed location. Make it look like an accident, right?
So he's going to take him to King Willie's blessed by the Pope water park, put sand in his floats, and send him on his way down the slide. Except the problem is here, Gary is starting to be fond of Lucas. They've kind of bonded in their activities for the day. So when it comes time for him to actually put the floats on and send him down the slide, Lucas is excited to do it. However, Gary doesn't really want to do it because he doesn't want anything to happen to Lucas because he cares about him. He's warmed up to him through all their little games that they played throughout the day at the water park.
So the Pope-blessed water park. Yeah, and there's that little conversation, and then Gary going back to the house and apologizing, and let me spend some time with Lucas on his birthday so we can bond. Maybe murder him in the name of saving the world. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. Yeah, which then as you mentioned, just leads to this montage of Lucas and Gary playing at the water park, which is just adorable.
It is. They're bonding.
Especially the scene where Lucas is laughing and Gary's holding him and sees the little boy that's within there probably for the first time. And that's where he really starts questioning what am I doing? Why this is crazy. And then Adam Scott, I think, really shines in this scene. He's just such a lovable person on screen. That's why he deserves the fact that Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec is one of the all-time most beloved TV characters ever. But for sure, he deserves that because he's so good.
I would not have said that when I was watching season 2. Because I did not like him or the other one at all. But I've warmed up to him now.
Yeah, he's great. So I see a little bit of that in this. It's just, there's some so much cuteness. And then immediately, now that his heart has fully melted for little Lucas is ready for the big slide now. Oh God. No.
Okay. No. That puppet.
Love Leroy.
No, that puppet was so creepy, especially when earlier Lucas had his hand on the crackly TV. I'm like, Poltergeist! This is Poltergeist. And then he starts with the voice and it's like, no.
Out. Yeah.
This is bad.
But Lucas is ready for the big slide now. It's well, shit. And then as he's tell him you don't have to do it, and the other kid's interrupting him, Lucas takes off down the slide, so Gary needs a sign from above. Love in skywriting seems like a pretty good one, which is a little cliche, is a little cheesy, absolutely, but this whole movie is just referencing storylines and plots and tropes from all kinds of things. So yes, love is the answer. That's what defeats evil, obviously. So he goes after Lucas, saves him. As the weights sink to the bottom of the pool, so does Leroy. Symbolism.
Bye, Leroy.
Yeah.
But then they have what I think is one of the best parts of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The ice cream. They go to get ice cream. They're having this bonding moment. Lucas calls him Daddy.
No, they're bonding and talking for the first time, and it's so cute that I'm gonna die now. His new dad is sticking around.
Yeah.
Calls him dad, and he's here for him. And I love their little exchange, Sorry I buried you in the backyard. Oh, it's okay, I get it. Sorry I put sand in your floaties. It's okay, I get it.
It's Lucas is telling him, I don't want you to die.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, he says, my real dad isn't a good influence. No, I don't think he is. He wants full custody.
Yeah.
Which would not be good. Not a good idea.
No, not for Lucas. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Nope.
And in that moment, that's when, the Reverend and his cohorts, including Miss Shaylock, have put out this Amber Alert out on Gary in order to steal Lucas away because he let the boy live. They've been keeping an eye on him. They thought he was the one to bring upon the apocalypse, but he fell in love with Lucas and couldn't do it. So they'll take matters into their own hands. We get to see the go to hell trick that was mentioned to the teacher in action, almost. But we're working on manners, so
we are.
Doesn't go through with it.
Gary's kind of trying to keep him, down on planet Earth when it comes to that, and
you have to stop possessing people's souls to kill themselves.
Yes.
It's not a nice thing to do to people, and that's what we have to learn.
Well, and what I found interesting is, you would think you don't want them to kill him so he can become the Antichrist. But in this case, you do kill him so the Antichrist can take his body.
Well, yeah, he's the vessel.
He's the vessel
for Satan. He is the portal.
Yeah.
To where if he's sacrificed in a certain way, then Satan can take over his body and then bring upon the apocalypse, which they want to do. You'd think they wouldn't, but he's not so much a reverend as
it's a cult,
satanic cult leader.
Yeah.
But we get crows filling the sky, which works as a nice distraction, so that the old creepy harbinger guy can let Gary out of the car, so he can go and save his wife and son. Maybe join a marathon for a few moments, get some cheering on going, and then,
because the Reverend made a little pit stop to collect Samantha.
Yes.
I don't know why she needed to be there. Like, what was because she needed to witness it?
I guess. Who knows? Part of the ritual. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Gary does go to Al, who's conveniently realized that sacrificing Lucas is actually what's going to bring Satan and the apocalypse onto Earth. She's done her homework, or, Al can do some homework too. And
I loved that they used Tom Sawyer by Rush.
It was so good. Yeah, because they need to save Lucas so he can be his own person. And Gozer was bad, so his death is okay now. But yeah, the nunnery was bought through Gary, so he knows exactly where the ritual is going to be taking place. He knows exactly how to get there. So assemble the stepdad squad, all aboard the Shell Camino. Sweet baby Jesus.
Oh my God. That car, those wheels. Nothing's going to hold it back. It's just not going to happen.
While they're in the monster truck, we learn maybe one of the greatest lessons we all should take with us in life and share this lesson with people, especially, obviously, parents. Parenting is all about keeping that portal shut.
Yep.
That's the lesson we need to learn. It really is, isn't it?
And then it turns out that Gary is the unconventional keymaster, which was brought up earlier, which is not really even part of this.
Yeah.
It was a joke.
Mm-hmm. Which, so funny. I love a good, oh wait, the answer's super easy kind of gag. Where people are like, how do we do this? And it's like, flip a lever and it's done. Like, those kind of little gags and jokes are
like
hilarious.
We had last week on the Meg 2.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is kind of one of those. We're like, it's locked and we're going to have to climb on each other and go through this window. And he's like, I sold this place. I know the code. Here's the key.
Well, because the Reverend hasn't had time to change anything because he's been so busy planning for this ritual.
Absolutely. A lot to prepare for with the apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gary's also great at knocking out a tiny old woman.
Oh my goodness.
Put on some robes and masks, and it's time to stop the apocalypse. Stepdad squad. At it. And I love that, Gary did say when he was taking Lucas to school early on in the film that he was a great baseball player when he was young. So, it's a good time to show that off with a fastball straight to the dome of the Reverend. Best dad ever.
Yep. I love that Gary turns around and says to everyone, I think you need to do some real soul searching.
Yeah, like he goes into dad mode on the cult. It's like, I'm real ashamed of all of you right now. You should be, yeah. Like,
That's great.
So the Reverend, the congregation have been stopped. So then Satan says, fine, I'll do it myself. Right? Uses Lucas to open up the portal and try to pull him in himself. And then a bunch of stuff goes on. I'm not quite sure how Gary manages to save Lucas exactly. Power of love. We'll just go with that. Don't ask too many questions.
Yeah, because I thought that they were gone.
Right.
And they were not gone. Nope.
Yeah, but then leads, again, a lot of great quotes to me. You know, you said hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Hopefully that was it. Yeah. So that's really the end, other than, like I said, I mentioned Eli Craig's cameo at the soapbox derby.
Oh, I love that what Gary was thinking about at the beginning, which was doing this derby car, turned out to be like a bonding moment for him and Lucas. And I love what they did. Like it was it was like a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like, I really liked that. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, but I think it's a perfect ending, a great ending. It's full circle, like you said, on that father-son bonding plan that he started with. Because that was like when he first gets dropped off at the house, when he move in with them. Like he said, he brought Lucas a gift, and it was literally this idea of building a soapbox car together.
Yeah.
And so we see that come full circle all the way back around.
Yeah. I like that he allowed himself to open up through the time at the water park, probably without even realizing it, so that they connected enough so that he realized that he did care about Lucas. Because I don't think he wanted to kill him in the first place, but I think that he hadn't really bonded with him, and then he did.
Yeah. So yeah. So there's Gary. Ben Wyatt. Gary.
Are we going to talk about Kate now?
Sure. No,
AKA Samantha?
Talk about Hope. Yeah, Samantha.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting because I thought Owen Atlas kind of resembled her. Like, I could totally buy them as mother and son.
Interesting.
But Lucas is this particular child who's also very peculiar.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't seem to have any interest in anything, even though Gary's trying to get him to listen.
Yeah. The way it starts is like, we can do this together, and we can do that. And it's like, oh, you got worms. Cool. All right.
Yeah. It's... Yeah. Which come back in a dream that Gary has where they're coming out of his nose. That was...
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, no, don't do that. But
me personally, I don't have a lot of Samantha notes. We've talked about pretty much everything I had is her talking about this. He was conceived in like a very, what was the word that she used? I
don't know the word that she actually used, but the way that she told the story was like, it was so nonchalant, no big deal.
It was like non-ideal or something.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's a little more than that.
She didn't want to be judged by it either. Like, she didn't want Gary to judge her and say,
I like what Al says. Al goes, well, she was young and probably needed the money.
If she got money, I mean, maybe she did get money for it.
Who knows? But again, just her obliviousness, which could be read as, like I said, just denial and pushing things away. But, even when Gary gets buried in the backyard, and it's just like, well, kids act out whenever they don't know how to use their emotions. It's like, I've seen that. I've experienced that firsthand. I've never seen a kid bury a person alive out of acting out from emotion.
No, definitely not.
Or just seeing the, writing and everything on the ceiling and stuff. Oh, how creative.
Yeah, it's basically, isn't it say rapture backwards?
It's Eretpar? Yeah, I mean, it's Red Rum from The Shining, another
Yeah.
Shining reference. It's Rapture backwards. And even having Leroy say, Erat par, it's,
Yeah.
so many Shining references.
Yeah. Well, the two little girls.
Yeah.
Those two little girls. They're dressed in little, I think, light blue dresses, and just, it's like, oh boy.
Which Victor mentions at the dad therapy, the stepdad therapy, is that he's, I have these twin girls. Yeah, we see them.
They look
creepy.
Incredibly creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really it with Samantha, other than, just her at the end, knocking the Reverend down the hellhole.
Down the hellhole.
And as Victor says, like, they both punch really well when people run up on them in churches.
If you're going to go down a hole, you better go down the hellhole, I guess. I really did love at the end when she just said, don't ever fuck with my kid again.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. All right. Because she'd just been so, I don't know. I felt like she was the tiniest bit oblivious. But I also think what you said is right. She was just trying to pretend it away.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't think about it, if I don't talk about it, it's not really happening. Well, it was definitely happening. There were also some filming things, the way that they, like, would have these very brief clips of things like, here's a coffee cup, and then this and that reminded me a lot of Shaun of the Dead. Like some of those very quick movie things.
Uh-huh.
But poor Gary, too, I feel like they blamed him for everything. Like, he was always getting the blame, which wasn't fair.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's all I've got on Sam. I mean, it's kind of, if there's really one, like, downside, I guess, to this movie, is having Evangeline Lilly in a big role and not doing a lot with her.
They didn't, because I think it would have been cool if she and Gary had teamed up to go and figure all of this out. And say, hey, you've got a problem. You've had multiple husbands that have died. I think I might know why. Let's work on this together.
Yeah. But then it becomes more of a serious, like, haunting movie versus...
True.
I think with the comedy is playing off the fact that the mother is just so oblivious. And like, no, perfect child. Like, it adds to the comedy of it. But then again, it takes away so much that she could have done in the movie.
Yeah.
It would have changed the vibe of the movie in some ways, so I get it.
You're right.
But again, having Evangeline Lilly in a role and being like, not having a lot to talk about her is kind of a bummer.
Yeah. I do think, though, that the Gary and Al show was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Them together was great.
Al is, just a hoot and a half. Love Al.
Oh, man. Do you have any other notes?
I mean, Lucas, as a character, and then I've got other character notes. I've thrown some of them in, but yeah.
Okay.
Just with Lucas, where we first see him, naughty Lucas, burying your stepfather. Mischievous.
My goodness.
And then, a lot of just the references that make him up at the beginning. They flesh him out more and he becomes an actual child, a real character, a person that becomes his own person. That's kind of his arc. But at first, he is just Damien from The Omen. Like, that's what they're putting off. And then you get the, a lot of the horror references, the long spooky hallways, creaky doors. He's sitting in this dark room, dolls hanging from the ceiling, staring at a static TV screen with his hand on it, a la Poltergeist.
Yep.
Which, like, is the cable out, or...
No, he likes that.
Also, while he's sitting there in front of that TV screen in that scene, is he wearing a very Danny Torrance-like shirt?
Kind of, yes.
I feel that's red and blue striped shirt. Also, Leroy, the goat sock puppet, it's very much Tony from The Shining, which is Danny's finger that he talks to, and it has this unsettling little, rah, 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 voice as well.
That voice. That voice was so creepy. You don't have to imitate it.
Right. But other than that, Lucas doesn't say much at all. We never actually, we hear his voice because, like Danny from The Shining, it's his voice, but like altered because it's this connection thing. But actually hearing Lucas speak for himself, we don't get that until the water park.
No, we don't. When he's laughing and he's actually being a child.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, when he and Gary are with their soapbox derby car, Like, you get this calmness, I guess, about both of them. Like, they just seem like they're on the same page. They built a good relationship. And, I mean, Lucas is very determined. I'm going to drive. And we're ready for this. We can do this. We have no idea how the race turned out, but I'm assuming they won.
Probably. They seem to be doing pretty good. Yeah, so I've talked about a lot of him, because, the Arut Par, it's hilarious. It just really is a great joke of having Rapture backwards and having the sock puppet say it. So the Shining references, I mentioned at the top, that was the movie that definitely wins the award for most referenced.
Absolutely. I think The Omen is second, because there were a lot of little things.
Yeah.
From The Omen.
A little bit of Rosemary's Baby with, like, the whole,
how it was conceived.
Conception and stuff, yeah. But...
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the CPS worker saying, no matter what happens, it is never the child's fault. And as she's saying that, Lucas is actively dragging Gary's unconscious body outside through the back door to bury him.
You'd think it would cause a lot more noise than that, though.
Right. But, yeah, so that's that. And then I've got a couple other notes about other characters that I've, again, thrown in a lot. The Reverend J.D. Gospel, where his greeting, when we first meet him, we see him on the TV, but when he first meets with Gary, his greeting is, "You are forgiven, Reverend J.D. Gospel." I was like, that's great. Stepdad of the Year, Al. Love Al. Yeah, I think I've thrown a lot of those. And when Gary's talking to Al, again, my favorite, by a mile, explaining things are going on about, like, Lucas, and it's like, and then the clown, don't you think? Yeah, that was a really weird clown. He goes, and I think there's a chance he caused the tornado at my wedding. The clown? No, Lucas.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, that was a terrible sign.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that if that was happening, you would realize, okay, I don't think I'm supposed to get married.
Right. Yeah, if rain on your wedding day is like a bad omen, then tornado...
should close it down.
Right, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so that's all the notes that I have.
Yes. I think we did it, Pake. I think we made it through.
We did. Little Evil is done. That was a fun one. It's funny. It's got some heartwarming stuff, again. Like I said, just kind of, there is this good, like, father-son bonding through arc that the importance of love and family. And so there's some good stuff in there, but it is also just hilarious.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun watching it. I love movies like this, like Cooties, and they just make you laugh while you're watching. Even though it's semi-serious, you're still, like, finding humor in it.
Yeah, so now I'm excited to get to Tucker and Dale, because I think you're going to love it, because it's very much in the vein of these movies. So
okay. I don't know why I have never watched it, but I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been, I don't know. Yeah. It's never been on my list.
Oh, there we go. There is the feedback phone. Perfect timing.
All right.
See if anybody check this out, see what they said.
Okay.
Get to that. All right, we actually do have one bit of feedback this week coming to us from Alma, which is awesome. Which first she just said, "Never heard of this flick before." And then she did go and watch it and came back to us, which is awesome. That's what we love, is if we're bringing you some new stuff, we hope that we can help you check out some new movies as well. Which is what she did, came back to us with saying, "This flick was hilarious. How are you going to marry someone without getting to know her kid better? LOL. And I've watched The Omen plenty of times to run for my life when I see a weird kid dressed like Damien."
Yeah. I know. But then it makes me think the other night, was it Jeff or Jerry who said that they thought it was the little kid? He's like the child version. Oh
yeah. It's like they got the guitars from AC/DC in this movie. It's so funny. Yeah. Ugh. So he does look like a tiny little Angus Young, doesn't he?
He does.
And like the poster, for sure.
But so good. This was just a fun one to talk about, so I'm glad that we did it. I'm glad that we talked about it. It's been one that you've had on your list for a while.
Yeah.
I'm glad we chose to do it this season, because we're getting so close to the end.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to submit your feedback, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Run for Your Lives Podcast. You can find us on X at RFYL Podcast. You can email us, runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. And if you are enjoying the show, be sure to tell your friends, because we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, pretty much all the other podcast players, including YouTube. Go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links that you'll ever need, and give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that is the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And speaking of sharing the love, of course, got to give some shout outs to things going on in the podcast universe around us. I always lead off with my other podcast, Strange Indeed, but nothing's changed still. We're getting closer to October, where we will be in the Flaniverse with the Fall of the House of Usher, but still hang on for that. Still on hiatus until then, but I am excited to get there. But lots of other great podcast stuff. Of course, we have the Lokiverse podcast coming up in anticipation for season 2 of Loki over on Disney+. They are going to be going back over the season 1 episodes, building up to that, kind of a little recap and catch up on that. So if you want to go check that out, Alex, Sydney, and Kirk are over there talking about Loki. So they went ahead and covered episodes 1 and 2 of season 1 this week. So you can go check that out. Kind of get a little refresher before season 2 comes very soon. Also on Disney Plus, of course, Ahsoka over on the Star Wars TV podcast, which I'm loving Ahsoka right now. It is so good. If you watch the animated series, it is just giving everything you ever wanted and more that you didn't even know you needed. It's awesome. And so for a big Star Wars nerd, Ahsoka is hitting on all cylinders for me. I'm loving it very much, and I'm super excited to watch it as soon as I can, as soon as it drops on every Tuesday night. So yeah, definitely check out the coverage of that as well. Jonathan James and Kristen have been covering that on Podcastica. And then over on the Cast of Us, Jason and Lucy back together in the Walking Dead world, covering The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. Also a show that I have really been enjoying. It's only 2 episodes in. The third episode will be this weekend, but you can go check out the episode 2 coverage. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Again, it's very different for The Walking Dead. I'm not going to give away anything really, but definitely go check it out. It's kind of a different story and some different ways of telling, and it could go in some really interesting directions. So yeah, I wasn't sure how I felt about Daryl. It's the guy who doesn't talk too much anyway, going to a country where he doesn't really speak the language, but they've handled that very well. The cast is really interesting. It's been really fun. So I'm enjoying that show and their coverage over on The Cast of Us. We also have the Wheel of Time going on have that podcast for that one. Greg and Veronica have been running through season 2 as it's running over on Amazon Prime. They're on episode 5 this week. So you can also check that out if you are a fan of the Wheel of Time over on Prime. And that rhymed. Also, White Lotus. They took a couple of weeks off after finishing the first season. But now, as you're listening to this, it should be up today. If not, it will be up within this weekend for sure. But Randy, Jason, and Jenny finally jumping into season 2 of White Lotus on Welcome to the White Lotus podcast. So definitely go check that out. I have not watched it yet. I have not started season 2. I did go through season 1. I really liked that. So I'm excited to see what season 2 holds. And then, of course, Yellow Jackets, WTF, has a special episode to kind of keep things running there. I'll let you talk about that because, again, you're on that one. So
So it was super exciting. Myself, Penny, and Jenny and Lucy discussed the 1993 film Alive, which, of course, Lucy is such a big fan of Josh Hamilton, who is one of the leads in this one. It also starred Ethan Hawke, and it's quite a story. And believe it or not, this is a movie I know quite a bit about. I went down rabbit holes to learn more about the story behind the movie, like what happened to the athletes while they were out there, and, you know, kind of digging into what's real and what isn't based on what we saw in the movie. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed being able to talk about it with them. And while we were doing prep for this one, we realized that there's going to be a new movie that's getting released sometime later this winter, like I think in 2023, they said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's directed by, well, someone that we've covered his movies on this podcast before, and that's J.A. Bayona.
Yeah.
Who did The Impossible.
Mm-hmm.
He also did Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. But knowing that he did The Impossible, I'm on board with what he brings to the table, because he knows how to tell stories like this.
Mm-hmm. That should be really interesting, for sure. Yeah, so definitely check that out over there. And yeah, on the Yellow Jackets feed, because it's very similar, if you know that story. So that's fun. And then, of course, those are like newer shows, newer things, except for Alive, it's not really newer. But, you know, podcasts for shows that put out new episodes still. But then we also have some other throwback podcasts going on. Even though this series ended this year, Revisited is already jumping back into the world of Richmond AFC and Ted Lasso. And they have that Ted Lasso Revisited is now up and running. The first episode should be out next week. So they're getting ready to launch that and get going. So definitely check that out. And then they did a bonus episode of the epilogue of Lost as well. So a little bit of final wrap up on Lost. It's officially over. They're not going back. They don't have to go back, Jack.
No more. It's done. It's a milestone for them to have completed all of that. And now to be able to dig into Ted Lasso, which is a show I know that we and a lot of our friends love.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear what they have to say about it. If they're breaking it down week to week, it's given me an opportunity to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
And it's never too early to do that with that show. No. There's just so much heart.
Yeah. So as they're revisiting Ted Lasso on Revisited, we've got another show revisiting an older show as well. You can check out the newest Podcastica podcast, Still Slaying, which is kind of a Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Buffyverse fan podcast. They're not going back episode by episode, rerunning the whole series, but they are picking out their favorite episodes of the series and talking about some really influential and big iconic episodes and moments and stuff that's their favorites and things they love. And that is Penny and Kara, and they are doing season 2, episode 6, the Halloween episode there, season 2. So that is their episode for this week. So if you are a Buffy fan and a fan of that episode, definitely go check out Still Slaying to get a little bit of Buffy love this week. And then lastly, always outside of podcasting, I got to give some love to TV podcast industries, because those guys are always just killing it and doing incredible things. Like 3 podcasts a week sometimes. They stay on top of all kinds of great shows. And yeah, so right now they are on Ahsoka and Wheel of Time, doing those ones right now as well. So if you get some more great coverage of those great shows, check out Derek, John, and Chris over on TV Podcast Industries. But of course, as always, you can come back right here to Run for Your Lives next week, and we'll have something fresh, fun, new, different this week for you, possibly. What are we doing?
Yes, you are right. It is time for something a little bit different. Released in 1972, we will introduce you to one of the OG documentary-style horror films that explores the legend of the Fouke monster, a Bigfoot-like creature said to inhabit the swamps of rural Fouke, Arkansas. Through a combination of interviews with locals and dramatic reenactments, the film recounts alleged encounters with the elusive and mysterious creature, adding an eerie and suspenseful dimension to this legendary tale of the American South. We are going to be discussing The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Yeah, it's one that's been kind of on our radar and on the list to cover since before day one, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll talk about a little more reason why whenever that episode comes out next week, for sure.
Yeah.
So this one's been a very long time coming, and it was fun to jump into it, and we had a blast. So definitely I recommend checking it out. I think it's free on YouTube, but the quality is not really good because it's the original 1972 re-uploaded digitally on YouTube. And it's not great. However, you can find it on Amazon Prime remastered, and it looks a lot better. You can rent it for like $4. So if you want to go
Yeah.
check it out, I highly recommend it because it's quite an interesting film for sure.
It is, and it's something really different for us. We normally cover cut and dried movies beginning to end. Things that are, have certain plot elements or character arcs. This one presented us with a unique opportunity to do something that we've never really done on Run for Your Lives.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to release that one next week.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. So if you do check it out, we'd love to get your feedback and thoughts on that. Love to hear from you.
And with that, we have reached the end of our episode. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.